So what did you miss at Jubilee today? Well, you missed me and my pneumonia. Excuse me, that even wasn't even done for dramatic effect. Um, yes, coming off my man cold, which has become pneumonia, um, I didn't have a lot of energy today. However, people around me seemed to. Full, busy church, which was lovely. And kids and people doing great things. The choir was on point, and it was a gorgeous duet to "There Is a Balm in Gilead." So you miss some great music. You miss some really wonderful community. Um, and today we confessed that we can't do it all. We confess that sometimes we are overwhelmed by the news, whether it's the tragedy of churchgoers being massacred in Texas, or millions of refugees, or corruption. We confess that sometimes we just give in to despair and we begin to believe that there's nothing we can do. We don't know what we can do about people dead in Texas, and maybe up here in Toronto there isn't much we can do. We acknowledge that millions of refugees around the world, maybe here in Toronto there isn't much that we can do. Or maybe there is something we can do, but we don't want to do it. And so we hide, we shut down, we despair. We confess that there is more we can do. That we can work at making the world better, more hospitable, more kind as we raise our children, as we interact with our grandchildren, as we engage with our neighbor, as we meet and invite the stranger. Just because we don't know what to do about somebody who is far away doesn't mean that we should shut down and not do things for those who are near us. And so we can start doing that. And as we do these things, we can become empowered and start to see ways that we can actually affect people in Texas or in Yemen or anywhere in the world. But it starts by letting go of despair and embracing hope and recognizing that that's what we're meant to do. We're meant to be hopeful. So we did that today. And it didn't fix the world, but maybe it's a way for us to start to engage in a way that will change the world. We listened to Jesus' parable in Matthew of the bridesmaids, 5 foolish, 5 wise, who had extra oil for their lamps, 5 of them, and ones who didn't, and went to get oil. When they came back, the bridegroom had arrived, and the city was closed, and they were left out. And we've been told time and time again that if you don't have enough faith, then Jesus locks you out and doesn't know who you are. We acknowledge that surely there's something else happening in that parable, that just is not consistent. In the same way, if you say something wacky, I can hear it and go, that doesn't sound like my dad. When we interpret the parable that way, I feel perfectly correct to say, wait a minute, that doesn't sound like Jesus. And so we engaged in the parable a little more. Rather than dismissing the parable, we wondered, yes, but what could it mean if it didn't mean that? And together we began to unravel a story about wisdom, common wisdom, about appearances, looking foolish and not looking foolish, about the reality of life where sometimes we make the wrong choice, even for the right reasons. Sometimes we come to a moment in our lives when the door is locked, and no matter what we do, we can't open it. We can't get past it. So we wondered if perhaps this parable might be a parable that invites us to consider the plight of the 5 who were locked out and recognize it wasn't because they did anything wrong, but in fact, the invitation for us is to not find ourselves in the same position, that we should maybe open ourselves up to advice and help from others and let go of our own competence and discover what it is to begin to live with people, not in their midst, but with them, when we are open to their suggestions and we are vulnerable to them, when we rely on them and they come to rely on us. I encourage you to maybe take a look at the parable yourself and wonder about it and wonder what it might say to you, because that's the power of parables, is they can say something different every time you read them. They can say something to every different person who engages with them. So that's what we did today. We engaged. And today, some of us came away with a story that encourages us to heed the advice of others, even at the risk of looking foolish, to let others help us, even when it might undermine our own competency, and in that, discover what it means to live with people, not simply in their midst. So that's what you missed at Jubilee today. Hopefully, we'll get to see you soon, and we'll get to be with you, not just in your midst, but with you, because we would love to see you soon. Until we do, God bless.